he says the NFC East is garbage, which after last season, and the way that looked, how it took it. I mean, losing records in the entire division, and Washington ends up coming away only because the Eagles decided to not play their starting quarterback in the second half of a game that the Giants needed to.
I don't think the division.
have the Washington lose.
I disagree with Prime as far as the division being garbage. I think it's a lot of solid teams there. There's nobody that's going to surprise you. I think it's better than the AFC South. I think that is going to be a competitive division.
Better than the AFC South?
Yeah. I mean, Jacksonville, Texans, Colts.
Well, Colts and Titans are.
Yeah, but at the top, listen, I think Washington's going to be a very good football team.
Okay.
Like, I think people are sleeping on them. They're a team that reminds me of like that Baltimore Ravens team that went to the AFC Championship with a young Joe Flacco. Because that defensive line is next level. And I think they have speed. Ron Rivera is a solid coach. Listen, if you look at that team there, and then you look at the team that Ron Rivera took to the Super Bowl, and they're built the same. Yeah,
Carolina.
they Carolina. Mm-hmm. They get at you on the defense side of the ball. Ryan Fitzmagic, he has some players around him. They don't need him to be special. Like, all they need to do is lean on that defense and win ugly. Whenever you can pack your defense and take that defense on the road. So I think they're going to be solid. I think the Giants are a complete team. I don't know if they're ready to take the next step, but defensively, they're going to finish top 10 on defense, and they have the offensive firepower, right? And then, Dallas is going to try and outscore people.
How are they going to be a top 10 defense when they got shredded by Mac Jones in practice yesterday or Wednesday?
Yeah, practice? You talking about practice? Yeah, how did Mac Jones look the next day?
Well, all right, but in the NFC, that's the worst division?
In the NFC, if that's the worst division. Nah, I think it's just. I mean, I think the NFC North may be the worst division. Yeah, I know they got A-Ron, but after that, those other teams we know absolutely nothing about.
You don't know anything about Chicago?
No, I mean that offensive line is going to get you barbecue.
But the left side's in trouble.
Yeah. When you think about comparing the Chicago Bears to the Washington football
team. I'm not
team,
saying that they're a Super Bowl contender, but I mean that division though with Minnesota, Chicago, and Green Bay. I mean, again, you don't want to be Detroit, no offense,
right?
But you're in trouble if you're Detroit in that division.
I mean, Minnesota any much better than Dallas? Yeah, no. Okay. Like is Chicago
but
any better?
I'm not comparing them. Like I'm comparing the depth.
I'm talking about the depth, right? I think it's a lot of teams that if they get in the playoffs from that division, they can win a wild card game. I wouldn't be surprised if.
I think it's a better division than the South.
Yeah, people forget what did Washington do with Tyler Heineke in that Tampa game. Like Tampa couldn't score.
They pushed, and that defense was right. That defense was dangerous.
So now you give them.
And they've got a guy that could be an MVP candidate.
Now you got McLaurin, right, which everybody sleeps on, and I believe they got the kid from Carolina, Samuel, and you put them together with Gibson, a healthy Gibson. I think. Listen, we sleeping on Washington, so I disagree.
So you
with
don't think.
Right,
so you don't think the division is trash, but you also don't see the Cowboys as a team that could contend for a Super Bowl.
I mean, with that type of offense, they can be in any game. All their defense got to do, listen, a blind squirrel finds a nut.
Yeah.
They get a turnover here or there, and you go up by 2 scores. You can shut the door with Dak.
Is that what they have to do, though? Is it on him?
Yeah.
Is it on Dak and only Dak? It's not about, like, can you –
recipe for success.
Like, their defense, obviously, they make the switch with their DC. They bring in Dan Quinn, right? Like, so you bring in a new coordinator, but it's still a fairly young defense that they've had to rebuild. Is that going to be the deficiency? And that's why, like, Dak's got to throw, Dak's got to put up big numbers because that defense might not be able to control a lot of opposing offenses. So you've got to score. Like, they've got to be a high-powered offense for them to win. Is that why they're not a contender?
They got to be a high-powered offense early in the game to protect the defense, right? To put the opposing team on their heels, to make them one-dimensional so that you can play cover 3, so that you can't, just take big shots. Now you got to dink and dunk them to death, and then you got to shut the door with Ezekiel Elliott, right? Remember, that defense has never been good in Dallas, but they've been able to play complementary football. If you can control the time,
it just hasn't been good in a long time.
Yeah, if you can control the time of possession with Ezekiel Elliott, but you got to get up by 2 scores. Right, you got to get up by 2 scores and then start playing to your running game and your defense. So you got to get out and get those scores as early as possible, and then you slow the game down. You limit the time of possession, and then now you just telling your defense, don't give up the big play. Right, this is a team that's going to have to play from ahead and can't fall behind. To do that, Dak's got to come out with that 15-play script. It's like this, right? Most teams want to say, okay, they win the toss, we'll kick, we'll defer. No. We want the ball. Like
Okay.
you want the ball, and you got to try and get ahead early and hope you can close the door before halftime.
Dan Orlovsky said that it needs to be like 70-30 pass to run, that you can't rely on Zeke as much. It needs to be Dak is the one that's got to be the one that gets this offense going. But, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is, that's a weapon that you need to figure out how to use, right?
You have to understand, if you're going 3 wide, you're going to put 3 receivers out on the field.
And don't you also want to have as much run as possible so you are on the field and your defense isn't?
Right.
Since that's your weakest part of the team?
My point, because the last thing you want to do is be throwing 70% of the time. You have a possession when the defense is looking at you like, bro, you took a minute and 30 seconds off the damn clock. Really? I'm back out there? Really? Right. Have you seen us in practice? Do you want us to have extra time? Like, no. Like, this is one of the teams that you want to, like, if you're not running the ball on first down, it's some type of quick screen that gets the chains moving, and you want to be able to kind of start the clock, and you want to have possessions, 4-minute possessions, you know what I mean, unless you're taking shots. And what happens is when you have the type of receivers, Gallup, you got Lamb, you got Cooper, what you want to do is you want to control the personnel battle, right? You want teams to have to play you in big nickel, right, or big sub, what we call when you put a safety in there for a linebacker. You go out there, and then you run power plays out of spread formations, right, because no matter what, you still have the advantage because now teams are going to be afraid to put that 8th man in the box because that means either Cooper's going to get one-on-one, right. That means that Lamb is going to get one-on-one, or that means Gallup's going to get one-on-one, and those guys you would think will win because Gallup's going to get your 3rd or 4th best corner, right? So then now when you do that, now you're light, now you run power runs out of sub type of packages with Ezekiel Elliott. Come on, Dan, you better than that.
Your brain, just the way your brain works, man, is phenomenal. Like you just went like into some other place.
I mean, that's the only way.
Like you just started like this is like Rain Man kind of thing where you just started.
Charlie
going
Babbitt is my brother.
Like A Beautiful Mind, where you just started like whatever you just described on the field. I could see it in your eyes that you were visualizing exactly what you were talking about.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.